Let's get it. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. We got Bob Digital in the building with us this morning on Plug Talk. Bob, good morning, man. You ready for this college football slate? I think you're muted, Bob. There you go. I can hear you.
You got
Yep, you're
me?
good to go, man.
Okay. And all that.
Nah, we couldn't hear you. You're gonna have to start over.
All right. Am I good now? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Yep, I can hear you now.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, I was hearing the music still too. Yeah, no, it's a
No,
fantastic
you're
slate
good.
of games. Looking forward to it today. Loaded from top to bottom. So ready to get going on it, and hopefully help the people out with some winners.
Yeah, definitely, man. So, like I said, if you guys don't know, Bob, his tag on Twitter is, I believe it's at Bob Digital, right?
Bobby Digital too. Yeah.
Yep, Bobby Digital. You guys need to check him out, man. This guy. So I've heard him speak in quite a few spaces. You guys know I bring you. I try to bring you guys, some of the best every time we do Plug Talk. And I try to bring you guys new people so you can get introduced to new cappers that can possibly put money into your pocket. And I've heard Bob speak on multiple spaces, and when I tell you Bob is very, very, very well versed when it comes to college football, and I am super excited to talk this slate with you today, man. You're probably going to make me sound like a 3-year-old when we're doing our breakdowns, but I'll live. I can't wait to do this, man. So let's not even waste any more time and hop right into it. I mean, I know we're going to want to get this spaced on in plenty of time for kickoff. We got James Felix in the building. James, good morning, man. Always coming in. And Zach Herm, good morning. So guys, we got the games already kind of pre-laid out for you guys, the ones that me and Bob decided that we want to talk about, that we think we can bring value to you in, and we already got them set. So that's how we're going to do it. But obviously, you guys know the comments are always open. If there's any games that we skip, because there's going to be a lot of them, if there's any games that we skip that you want us to touch on, please put it in the comments and we will do our best to get to the game and give you a quick insight on our thoughts on the game. Just put it in the comments, guys. Also, no matter where you're at, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, if you're on Twitter, please share. Just hit the retweet, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, do whatever you need to do, but just get this space out there so we can have more people in here and make money with us today. And please give Bob a follow before we even get started, please. All right, Bob. So we're going to hop right into it, man. I'm going to jump right into this slate, and we're going to get things started. Let me see if DraftKings is up. DraftKings is up. Let me see what else we got. All right. All right, it looks like the first game we got today, guys, is it's a 12 o'clock. Obviously, we're working in the 12 o'clock slate right now. We're going right to the Washington and Iowa game. I know you guys were expecting to hear Alabama. I know y'all were. I know y'all were. But we're going to Washington and Iowa. So Bob, we got Washington coming in as a road dog here at a plus 124. We got Iowa as a slight favorite at home here at a minus 148. We got a total of 41 and a half in this one. And it is slightly favored to the under at a minus 112. They're asking us to lay 3 points with Iowa here. And, personally, I think Washington looks like a good dog here, but I think I'm going to stay away from a side. It's too tough for me. I'm personally going to take the over at 41 and a half. Iowa 3-2. They're 2-3 against the spread. I mean, they just took a nasty loss to Ohio State. They just put up 70, what, or not 70, they just put up seven, right? 7 points, I think, in their last game. And, you know, we know Iowa for that nasty offense, right? Like they don't score hardly ever. This year's a bit different. I honestly kind of like this Iowa offense, and I know you're probably like, what are you talking about, bro? Like you just seen them put up 7 points. Well, that's my point here to the over is I think we're getting some biased on that total, and I think that with Washington's defense, Iowa's defense can stop the run. Let me see here. They have um Iowa's defense can stop the run, but they're not very good with the passing defense. Where Washington, they should move the ball fine. Um then you get Washington defense. I think they can still I think Iowa can still put up points on this Washington defense. So I'm going to take the over here. Um, I am liking Washington as a dog, but I feel like we're being baited into taking Washington here. It almost feels like a line that is screaming Iowa to me. But I like Washington here, slight lean, but I love the total. I love the over. I think it's way too low.
Yeah, no, I think the side is kind of the perfect number in this case. We've actually seen Washington play a couple teams with the same profile. Think about a couple weeks back, a game against Rutgers. Think about how that team profiles. Defense, strong running game, questionable quarterback, questionable passing ability. They played Michigan last week. What do you think of Michigan this year? Strong defense, strong running game, questionable quarterback in terms of passing. And now you're playing Iowa. Strong running back, strong defense, questionable passing. All three of these totals have been around the same number, right around 41 in that range. The Rutgers game should have went over, quite frankly, because Washington missed, I believe, 3 field goals in that game. Should have won that game outright. I was on Rutgers that day and was quite fortunate in that spot. Last week, and the Washington, you saw them be able to move the ball against Michigan a bit and, kind of control that game a little bit. I do agree with you. The Iowa offense is better this year. I mean, last year they were historic levels of bad. And I know I was saying in preseason that if Iowa's offense, which, 134, last year 133 FBS teams, they were bottom 10. If that offense jumped to the 90th best offense, that was actually like a massive leap last year. So now, and they're in the 90s. So the offense is taking that massive leap, but it's still below FBS average. So I see the play on the total. I do make the total like right on the market. So I haven't made a play on this game. And as far as the side goes, it is a brutal spot for Washington in terms of the side. Coming off, you mentioned that I mentioned the cross country travel with Rutgers on a Friday night. Some of these Big Ten long trips teams have not done well with them. Even if Iowa's in the west side of the traditional Big Ten, if you will. But coming off that big win against Washington, I know it's the different players, different coaching staffs. But I think 3 is the perfect number. It's something where, I briefly consider an Iowa 2.5 or a cheap money line if that was, flat across the board. If Washington got to 3.5, that's when I'd start to think about it. But at 3, no thoughts there on the side. But I'd certainly lean your way on the total a little bit, but not playing it personally.
All right. Which is completely fair. Iowa is only 2-3 against the spread here. Like we mentioned, they took that nasty L to Ohio State. Washington's they are, if I'm correct, I haven't watched too much of Washington, but if I'm correct, they are pass, pass, pass. They are pass first offense. And I I don't know, man. We'll see what happens in this game, but I would look towards maybe some, maybe if you're looking for anything, I think it is going to be a higher scoring game. Maybe some Washington props if you are into that. But yeah, this is a tough game to get on a side on. That's why I definitely went with the total. All right, let's see here what we got next. I think the next game we're going to be talking about is the Georgia Tech game. I think we got Georgia Tech taking on North Carolina. So we got Georgia Tech coming in. They're looking like a 3.5 point favorite here. Which if you haven't been paying attention to college football, that line would be like, wow, in some people's eyes. But I mean, North Carolina is, I don't know. So Georgia Tech 3.5 here, North Carolina plus 3.5 at home. And we got a total of 60.5 in this one, locked up on both sides. You can catch Georgia Tech on the money line at a minus 166, and you can get North Carolina at plus butter at a plus 140 here at home. It doesn't matter to me if they're at home or not. I'm on Georgia Tech here all day. UNC is now 3-3, 0-5-1 against the spread after a loss to Pitt at home. Georgia Tech is now what? They're 4-2, 3-2-1 against the spread. They just beat Duke. So they played two conference games. Right, Georgia Tech. They played two conference games on the road for Georgia Tech. It was Syracuse and Louisville, right? Both losses.
Don't forget about Florida State and Ireland.
Yeah, right. Both teams, in my opinion, are better than North Carolina. So that is going to help them here. And UNC, man, I mean, and this where are they going to get their points from? This Georgia Tech defense has been great. I mean, I just don't see. I mean, Georgia Tech 42nd in the nation in pass yards per game against a UNC defense ranked 113th. I mean, and with a total this high, this is like, I don't understand it. Hopefully you can help me make some clarity on this, because in my eyes, with a spread this small and a point and 60.5, and I personally think North Carolina is not going to put up many points at all. So that's telling me that Georgia Tech is going to absolutely run away with this thing. I mean, is there a possibility, Bob, that we could ladder Georgia Tech spread here? Like, I don't know, man. That's just what I'm getting out of this.
Unfortunately, mine another game I don't have a ton on here. Just looking at the market though, just kind of seeing what that's done this week. I'll kind of start there with this one. Total opened around 57.5. You see the current at 60.5, so it's moved up 3 points. I do think the Georgia Tech defense has been a little fortunate at times this year. I don't think it's one of one of the better units in the country or anything, but I think it's it's average. And the UNC, obviously, you saw James Madison put up almost literally 100 points against them, and they've been really up and down at spots. I do think they are improved on defense with Jeff Collins as the DC over Gene Chizik, but that's not saying much on that end. Another part on the side, at least, you've really seen the side come down this morning and late week when the bigger money comes in. This spread was 5.5. I think it touched a 6 at some points earlier in the week and is now down to as low as 3.5. I mean, the graphic on the screen shows 4, and it's even ticked down since you made that graphic. I'd wonder here, this is a noon game. I do wonder if maybe you get a flat 3 in this, because it's clear someone in the market who spends a lot of money, bets a lot of money, likes UNC in this game. I do kind of my number is like right 4.5. So technically, I do show value on Georgia Tech right here. But I do think that the way UNC is played, there could be some value there. But I also am quite curious if they're like kind of a dead team. Like I don't think Mac Brown is a good head coach. They've had to see huge quarterback drop off. I do like the one they're playing now, Jacoby Chisnell. I forget the last name. He's better than the other two options. Obviously, they lost Max Johnson to a broken leg in the Minnesota game early on. So I think the offense has done better since then. That's probably why the total has moved up a little bit as well. But nothing for me on the side. I don't blame you on the Georgia Tech if you get the bottom of the market here. But if you haven't placed that yet, I would wait to see if you get a 3, in the next 2 hours and 13 minutes or so. If you can get a flat 3 in the game instead of laying 3.5. So just be patient with that one.
Right. And while you were talking, I had no idea. Man, I looked. I'm looking at opening lines now. Some places were 6, Bob.
Yeah.
Like what?
Mhm.
Um, Absolutely moved the completely wrong way that I thought it would.
Yeah.
That is a huge indication to me that I might be on the wrong side here. Now we got to remember, UNC hasn't even got a bye week yet. I don't think
Very good point.
Yes, I mean UNC has not even got a bye week yet. It's 7 weeks of straight ball. This is a team going back to last year, 9-1 against the spread. I mean, what are we missing here? Maybe it's just any given Saturday, UNC, the books know something we don't. Well, we'll see. I'm still standing on business on this one. Give me Georgia Tech here. I think they are capable of a route, but we'll see. I'm gonna be on Georgia Tech here, but be careful with this one. Line movement extremely sketchy. Bob pointed out a lot of good points, and it's just a very tough game. All right. Let's move on to our next game. We have let me see here. I believe it's your game, Bob. We have Akron taking on Western Mich in this one. Um so we got Akron taking on Western Mich here. Akron is getting 9.5 points in this game, where Western Michigan is laying 9.5 points here. We got a total of 50 locked up on both sides. Western Michigan is at home at a minus 340. Like I said, laying 9.5 here, where Akron is a road dog at plus 270. Bob, I'll let you kick this one off, man. How you feeling about this game?
I am an alumnus of the University of Akron. Obviously follow the team and then I follow the MAC reasonably closely on this. My number in the game, I'll kind of start there. It is on the other side of 10, actually. 11.5 is my number, 11.63 to be exact. On my end, that's what I make the game. I have not bet Western Michigan. I've been on them a couple weeks in a row in their game against Marshall. Didn't come through for me there. In that spot, I got 5.5. And they were on the goal line with a chance to tie it and just couldn't punch it in there. And then last week against Ball State, they played a shootout. A Ball State team I think is horrid, but so is Akron, quite frankly. They're both bottom 5 teams, but I do trust the Ball State offense a little more. And they put up 42 on this Western Michigan defense. So that was something of concerning, and that's quite frankly, Western Michigan won 45-42, I believe. Didn't cover the 7 that I laid when the game closed 10 in the game. But the defense so that'd be my pause there, is the Western Michigan defense. I'm not huge on Walt Bell, the offensive coordinator of Western Michigan. It was a team I liked preseason, but typical to his other previous stops, his teams are up and down, inconsistent on that side of the ball. So that bothers me a little bit. On the Akron side, had hope with Ben Finley, the quarterback transfer in from Cal and NC State. You've seen this with Bowling Green, another MAC team. They brought in Connor Bazelak from a couple power programs and kind of stepping down a level. You've seen some passing success that Akron, quite frankly, hasn't had in many years past. I mean, they've been one of the worst teams in FBS football for a while. And you haven't seen that leap at all. Still a poor offensive line, okay receiving core. They're not doing anything special, like from an X and O standpoint on offense. They do have a really good defensive lineman who might get drafted. Akron does. That's kind of the strength of the team, but that's kind of you're still seeing games, kind of go over against them, even though a couple times in this one, games, included as well, has gotten bet under. I do disagree with that a little bit. I'm not going to play the side. I lean a little bit to the over. I have not bet it yet, just for transparency. When now that it's under 51, the key of 51, I kind of think about that, and that's something I'll probably look into a little bit after the show if I want to play against that steam, because it's moved a couple points down to the under.
Yeah, and I am sorry, Bob. I put you on the spot there. This is actually one of my games I put on my list. I thought it was one of yours, but I thought that because you're an alumni for Akron.
I'm ready for any FBS game.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. It's not
You're
even your
good.
game. All right, so I agree with everything you said. I do kind of lean the over here just because I personally think, and no offense against Akron, but I personally think that they're about to get ran through, bro. Um, I think this number is way too low. I think this is going to be a blowout. I think Western Michigan puts on an absolute show at home today. I'm expecting, this. I'm expecting Western Michigan to put up some real points today, and just basically flex some muscle here. What on the muscle that they have. This offense is ranked 78th in the nation. Defense, like you said, Bob, not good. I mean, they're giving up almost 40 points a game, and that's going to leave a little room for Akron there to probably wiggle in some points. I love the over. I think the over is an excellent look, but I think we could probably take Western Michigan up to a 13 and a half. Personally, I think they win by 2 touchdowns here. You can catch the 13 and a half. We're getting that at let me see. So it's not as good as you would think it would be. And this is pretty telling to me, Bob. You ready for this?
Hmm.
What would you think the 13 and a half would be priced at here?
Oh, yeah, doing conversions in my head. 170.
It's a plus 118. They are
Yeah.
not trying to pay us, bro. And
I guess there's a lot of dead numbers between. Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah, I'm probably
this
wrong. A lot of dead. Yeah.
nah, this is ugly to me. I was expecting Bob, honestly, I was expecting to see a 140, 150 on there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not kidding you, bro. This is so from a 9.5 to a minus 13.5, they're only giving us a plus 118. That is a huge indicator to me that they just don't want to pay. They don't want to pay for a reason. I think it covers. Give me Western Miss here, laying the 13.5 at plus money. We'll see how it goes, but that's what I like in this one. And I mean, we can go down the list here, Bob. There is plenty of stats that back up Western Michigan here.
Mhm.
I mean, there's just a ton of them. I mean, Akron has lost 11 games in October. The favorite has won the Akron's last 13 games. I mean, the home team has covered the spread in 4 of Akron's last 5 games.
Mhm.
There's just a ton of spreads that go against Akron here, and like I said, I think this is a game that's going to be low key on a very loaded card today, and you can just like at the end of the game when you're at the end of the day and you're scrolling through all your games and you just look and you're like, holy shit, Western Michigan won by 30 points. How did I miss that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I
Well,
think this might be.
one thing that's interesting, and I think it speaks to just a couple general points, specifically on some of these MAC teams. Sun Belt, Conference USA, it kind of applies to them too. Just a general point.
Yeah.
A lot of them, Akron's one of them, Western Michigan's one of them as well. They play a lot of bye games in September. Akron played, Rutgers, Ohio State, and South Carolina. Obviously they're going to lose all three of those, or all three of those games. So that does kind of look, and hurt their overall, stats in terms of where they are offense, defensive, overall rankings. And all that. So it is good to also just pay attention to the data points. If they keep it close in those games, if there's a couple signs of life, of competitiveness there, but also kind of focusing and kind of weighting a little bit games against more equal competition, as far as like season long metrics, because we're still dealing with small sample sizes. Still in week 7 of the season, a lot of teams have only played. That going on to Akron, just a comment you made on that, that I didn't know. It's, quite frankly, typically something I don't pay attention to, but you mentioned Akron, I believe losing their last 11 October games.
Mm-hmm.
Those bye games that I mentioned, they all happened in September. So in October, Akron is typically playing MAC opponents, teams that are on their same talent level, and all that. And I mentioned, Akron's been a drag in FBS football for some years here. And I think that, that is a sign of, of the talent level, or lack thereof in this case of Akron, where that is actually, a bad sign, and shows they aren't able to close games. They've had some games where, they keep it close for a half. In the second half, they just run out of steam. That happened in the Ohio game a couple weeks ago, specifically. So that's just kind of an interesting note that I was like, oh, I did not realize that myself. Yeah. And like I said, that's against games against similar competition. They're going to lose to Ohio State, Rutgers, South Carolina.
Right. That's a great point, bro. That is an absolute great point. That's something I'm definitely going to keep in my tool belt, man, for college football. I mean, you could do that with every sport, honestly, especially
college basketball too.
Yep, college basketball, definitely. Definitely a good tip, man, for you guys to keep in your tool belt, without a doubt. All right, let's move on to the next game here. I believe we have we got my BYU boys, man. We got my BYU boys. I am absolutely, you guys already know, since last year, the year before, college basketball. I love BYU. I love these Mormons. They're great. I love this school. I just love the program. So especially, well, the athletic program. So we got Arizona here coming in at a plus 120. We got BYU at a minus 142 at home. We got a total of 48 here, slightly favored to the over. And Bob, they're asking us to lay 2.5 points with BYU. Arizona, a road dog. Very close spread here. Obviously, the line is moving in favor of Arizona. Just since I made this banner, it moved. Because I seen a 3.5, not quite sure where it opened at, but I know for a fact I seen a 3.5. So it's moving in favor of Arizona, which I can understand. I think this number is right on the dot. I really, really do. I think this game comes down to a field goal. Any way you slice it. I don't want to be biased here. I do think this 2.5, I think you lay with BYU. If you caught the 3.5 with Zona, I think you might be okay. You're going, I mean, BYU has only been in the Big 12 for 2 years now. I think this is Arizona's first year. I mean, BYU, they're 5-0 on the season, man. I mean, this team is constantly being undervalued, man. Like the books just keep. I believe they were dogs in almost all of their games. Almost all their games they were underdogs. They won outright. This defense is not talked about enough. It's not. This defense is incredible. It's 20th in the nation. Less than 300 yards per game against. I mean, they've been immaculate, bro. They're 24th against the pass. They're 48th against the run. Now, Arizona makes their second trip to Utah after they actually went in there, which was a surprise to me. They actually went in there and I think they beat Utah, which was a surprise to me because I really like this Utah team. I do. But Arizona came in there and beat them. So, here they are again taking on BYU. Look, man, I don't think they're going to come in and win both games on their trip to Utah. They already beat Utah. I don't think they're going to beat BYU here. Give me BYU on the money line. If you call Zona at the 3.5, I truly think that you're going to be okay. I think this is going to be a battle, but it's going to be a great game. Super excited for it. Give me BYU on the money line here at a minus 142, Bob.
Very, very interesting game, and I think we've seen a ton of movement in this game. BYU did open at 3.5, got bet out to 5.5, and now you've seen the late week money come in on Arizona, kind of all late week. That looks to definitely be the sharp side, and I do agree with that. Anything above the 3 minus 110 is fine. As far as that, you've missed the boat on the Wildcats. But I can also see your point of going, hey, I'm going to take the best number on BYU that's been available all week here on game day. You kind of mentioned some good points that I was going to bring up that's kind of anti-Arizona. that makes me pause a little bit on backing the Wildcats. Elevation is known to affect people. And they went to Salt Lake, they went back home, and now they're back to Elevation again. So just kind of that kind of travel. It's not long trips, but still, going back and forth between the Elevation, the acclimation product, of that is a little bit difficult there in that. BYU is interesting. Top 25 defense as far as EPA per play, all year. They've exceeded my expectations. They talked about last year, their first year in the Big 12, wanting, that they weren't ready in the trenches to go up to Power 4 football. They've improved this year. Quarterback Retzlaff, he's kind of a gunslinger. Do think maybe some turnover regression is possible on the Cougar side. Arizona was a team I wasn't high on, ton of turnover, but they definitely have the better quarterback here, and Noah Fafita, who's not having a great year, but still think he's a really good college player. And then of course McMillan at wide receiver, who's just an absolute stud. He's going to be the best receiver that BYU has played all year. Definitely lean towards Arizona. I know we haven't gotten to a ton of games that I have super strong opinions on. I agree with Arizona being the sharp side. My number is like 2.94. So we're really close to 3. And I didn't bet the 5.5, kind of because of that altitude thing. My notes right here on the game is, are we sure BYU is good? Yeah. Just kind of that. And another thing too is just the compression in the Big 12. I know I talked about it on another show. Just there's the without Texas and Oklahoma, the Big 12 in general, you have a lot of teams that recruit very similar style of player as far as team, overall quality. And you're going to see a lot of up and down, year to year on different teams, based on returning production or just, kind of other things. I have 10 plus teams in the top 10 plus teams in the Big 12 rated within a touchdown of each other on a neutral field. Both these teams included in that, so it's just very tight margins here, and not a big gap between these two teams, and it's something unique about the Big 12 in particular that that's not the case in the Big 10. With Ohio State versus the 10th best team in the Big 10, that spread's not a touchdown, but it is like that in the Big 12. So I do generally start to kind of think dog in a lot of cases in Big 12 games. So lean Arizona, haven't played it, have some pauses, but I do think that's the sharp side in the game.
Yeah, I love this team, Bob, man. I love this BYU team, man. So I don't want to, I tried not to be biased in all my picks, but I just love this team. I think.
Yeah, I got those teams too, where it's they've been good to me for a long time. Tulane is actually one of them from previous years. Oregon State, even though I don't like them this week, we can talk about that later. But teams that have been good to me in the past, based coach, quarterback, combos, you do kind of get some favoritism a little bit. You start to, love some of these teams randomly, even if you have no connection to the actual school.
Yeah. Bro, it's, I don't know. I love this team, man. So we'll see what happens today. I'm rooting for them for sure. When it comes to my money, I'm not sure if I'm going to bet this game, Bob, to be honest with you. But I am definitely looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be awesome. All right, let's move on to the next game, man. Hey, guys, if you can, we're starting to get people rolling in here. It's 10 o'clock. I know everyone's used to my show being around 10:30. So we're probably going to see a real pickup in people here moving forward. But, the 70 people we got in here now, can you guys please retweet, share the space, comment, let us know anything you guys got for picks during the day. Anything you guys want us to talk about, please let us know. We are moving towards the middle of our games that we have set for you guys, and we'll be happy to go over any games that you guys might want us to talk about that we missed. So if you guys can, please just share, retweet the space, show support, and please go follow Bob Digital. You can find his tag in my post for the space. All right. Now I'm pretty sure this is your game because I don't think I did this one. Yeah. We have Southern Miss taking on ULM for this one. So it looks like we have Southern Miss coming in as a 6.5 point underdog on the road here. Looks like the line's already moved a little bit since this morning. ULM is laying 6.5 in this one. We got a total of 41. We got a money line here. By the way, it's favored to the under at a -112 for the 41. You got ULM -238 in this one, and then you got Southern Miss at a +195. Personally, I I don't have much on this game at all. ULM has been a fantastic story. I'll say that. ULM has been a fantastic story. Everyone loves a good story, right? So I I don't know, man. I gotta say, give me ULM here. I'm gonna keep rocking with with the uh with the good story here. Let me see. I got ULM. At least putting up 24 points here, and I think if they do that, right, 24, 26. If they do that, they will cover this spread because I don't think Southern Miss is going to be able to put up 2 touchdowns today, in my opinion. But that's just me.
So I'm on the Southern Miss side here. I bet some +7. It's one of my, obviously I brought it up here. It's one of my favorite plays of the week. Playing the spot a little bit against ULM. So a couple things here. ULM is one of the slowest paced teams in college football, and that's kind of a thing under head coach Brian Vincent. And they have a talent deficit, generally speaking, in a lot of games. So what do you do in that situation? Another game we'll talk about later, another team who does that as well. But that limits possessions. What does that do? Limit scoring opportunities. You see the total with 41. So how is ULM not typically a team that gets margin? 21-19, huge upset over James Madison. 13-9. 30, they did crush UAB, but that's other issues there. And they beat an FCS opponent. But we're seeing these games in Sun Belt play. And again, I throw out that Texas game, outmatched, right? But you're seeing these Sun Belt games very low scoring with ULM because they're limiting possessions. So now you're talking about a team who other than the FCS game, hasn't been a favorite in any game this year. Now, not only been a great story, they're 4-1. Their preseason win total was 1.5. So they far exceeded that and whatnot. But they are now going from they were 17-point dogs against, or actually a little less, against James Madison last week. Now you're seeing them go from the hunter to the hunted. Southern Miss is not a good team. I don't have a ton of stats here to back that up. Thing is, the talent level here is about equal between the two teams. ULM has brought in a ton of JUCO players kind of coming up. And they're doing well. They are better, no doubt better than I thought, and they are the better team here. But now you're asking a ULM team who's going to try to limit possessions to win by margin when they are used to trying to cover big numbers. They're a team I want to back more as a dog, not lay points with a favorite. Just think this number is a little big here. I make it closer to 4.5. I like Southern Miss a lot in this game. So I bet that 7 earlier. 6.5 is still fine. Yeah, 6.5 is still fine. I was gonna say you can bet 6, but don't bet a flat 6 if it moves a little bit more. So 6.5 is still fine. I think Southern Miss might be alive to win the game.
All right. I'm gonna take your word for it, man. Like I said, I don't have much in this game. I don't necessarily follow the Sun Belt. So college football is massive. A lot of teams to keep up with. You just simply pay attention to certain conferences more than others, right? And I just personally don't pay too much attention to this one. I do think ULM is definitely on track for a bowl game. If they can keep going. Like I said, it's a good story, man. But I'm going to take your advice on this one. Obviously, you put some thought into this. You have everything to back it up. And quite frankly, after listening to you for the last 2 months, I trust your opinion here. So, let's go Southern Miss here. All right,
Awesome.
man. Yep. Let's go to our next game. Our next game is going to be, oh boy, we got Florida and Tennessee. We got Florida and Tennessee, man. Let's fucking get it. So we got Florida coming in this one. Well, that's not Florida. We got Florida coming into this one at a 14.5 point underdog here. You got Tennessee at home, laying 14.5 points. You got a total of 57 locked up on both sides at a minus 110. We are in Knoxville, people. All right. It's a uh I mean, this is not easy, man. You know, this is not an easy place. This is a SEC rivalry game. My thing is, Bob, the Gators absolutely own Tennessee, man. They own them. Winning 8 of their last 10 games versus Tennessee is crazy. Okay? And then if you want to put a little cherry on top of all this as well, right? Well, first let's put the hot fudge on here. We're getting 2 touchdowns. All right. And then to put the cherry on top of everything else, guess who Tennessee plays next week? Alabama. And here comes the Lonely Gators walking in to Knoxville. Bro, I got to take the points here, man. I got to take the points. I know Florida has issues. I'm a huge Miami guy. I love Miami, man. So, I'm not the biggest fan of Florida, but I have to take the points here. I can't see it going any other way. Tennessee is coming off of a loss in Fayetteville against the Hogs, right? Uh, they were a 14-point favorite there, lost outright. I mean, yes, you got to put it in. It's hard to say that this is a look ahead spot, even though they have Bama, because we are in a rivalry game. We can't forget that this is a big rivalry, right? So it's hard to be like, oh, it's a look ahead spot, because Tennessee is going to be up for this game. They are. They're at home. They're going to be up for this game no matter what, I think. It just puts us in a hard spot. Now, Tennessee on paper, man, Jesus, you put these boys next to anybody on paper, and the stats are just, crazy. But let's be real, man. Uh, you know, I can't sleep on the Gators numbers. I mean, they don't look terrible. They look good, and they're one of the best sack teams in the country, in my opinion. This team is going to put pressure. Uh, I think the 14.5 is just too many, Bob. Give me the Gators here, man. I also like Florida in the first half as well.
Yeah, is that 7 and a hook? I haven't looked.
The
I haven't
first
looked at the
half.
first half there. Yeah, I haven't looked at that.
Let me look. Man, if we're
I'll try
getting
to
that
get it.
7.5, I would love it.
Yeah, I would
Uh,
say that's an interesting look there. If you can get it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's north of 7.
yep,
Yeah, it's comfortably
7.
north of 7. So
Yep, I got a 7.5 at a minus 108.
yeah, okay. So a couple things here, and it's going to start to sound like I disagree, but in a way I don't as well. I don't think in this particular case, look ahead spot to Bama, or any of that matters in this particular case for Tennessee. You kind of want to look at these things on a case by case basis. You mentioned this is a rivalry game. You mentioned the series history against Florida, which largely, unless you keep same coach quarterback, I generally don't put a ton of stock into it, but the game still matters a ton to both these teams, and they're aware of the series history. So I don't think you're going to get a letdown, or kind of looking ahead to Alabama. Also, they're coming off a loss. So, kind of a refocused effort. So I think it's overall like a neutral spot for Tennessee. I don't think it's a good spot. I don't think it's a bad spot. I just think it's neutral. This market did open higher. It opened closer to 17. We have seen money come in all week on Florida. That does appear from a market perspective to be the sharp side in the game. My numbers, it's going to sound boring, 14.75. So that's my number in the game. I don't have a play on the side. I did play the over in the game. To me, the weak part of Tennessee's offense is their offensive line. They've had some tackle injuries. And I don't think Florida has a ton of talent on the pass rush. I think the sack numbers you referenced are, kind of because of the competition Florida's played, specifically the offensive lines. While I just kind of dissed Tennessee's offensive line, this offensive line is better than the previous ones of UCF, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M has had some issues too, but Texas A&M also got out early on them in that game as well. And also maybe some of those sack numbers, inflated a little bit from Samford. So on the Florida side, so not too big on Florida's pass rush, kind of matches up with the weakness there. Stud wide receiver for Florida, Eugene Wilson, wasn't on the injury report, missed the last couple weeks. I think that's going to make a big impact, assuming he is expected back. The weakness of the Tennessee defense, the secondary. What haven't they played yet? Chattanooga, NC State, Kent State, Oklahoma, Arkansas. I haven't played a single good passing attack yet. So this is going to be the best passing attack they play thus far. We haven't seen that Tennessee secondary tested quite yet. I took over 56.5 in this game. That is a bet I have made. I still think it's good at 57. I think both teams could get to the high 20s, early, low 30s here. And nothing on the side for me. Hopefully it sets up a nice, Alabama Tennessee game next week. But just over for me here.
I love it. I love the over here as well. I think the over is a safe play. Honestly, I think that's the safest way to go for this game.
I make it 59. So
yeah,
that's
I love it, man. I love it. I love the over here. I'm completely with you. All right. Perfect. Let's move to our next game, man. Our next game, it looks like we have let me see. It looks like we got Vandy. Yep, we got Vandy taking on Kentucky. Yep, we got Vandy taking on Kentucky. Bob, I know this is your game. So let me do the layout, and I'm going to let you kick it off, and then I'll give you my input. Vandy is coming in as a 13-point underdog here, and we all know what Vandy just did. All right, so we got Kentucky laying 13 points here. Vandy's coming in as a road dog after beating Bama. We got a 44.5 here, locked up on both sides. I mean, Bob, where do you go here, man?
So this cap's going to sound somewhat similar to the first game I did. What does Vanderbilt do? ULM and Vandy have something in common. They play insanely slow. We talked about that with Vandy previously. So what does that do? That's going to, again, limit possessions in the game. From a spot perspective, it's probably literally the worst spot on the board possible. Vandy coming off a historic win, beating the number one team in the country, Alabama, at the time. First win I believe it's their first win against the number one team. They were in the goalpost 3 miles down the road into the river. All that.
Well, was that the biggest win in program history for Vandy?
Without a doubt, without fact checking it, but it has to be only win against number one. And then, did you see the stat? And this has nothing to do with handicapping, but Vandy scored in the entire Nick Saban Alabama era. They scored 17 points against all Nick Saban Alabama teams. Now they didn't play every year, but still. And they scored 17 in the first quarter or something, or in the first half against Alabama last week. So it was just kind of one of those funny oddball things. Again, that means nothing to the handicap this week or anything, but it's just one of those funny, whoa, that's kind of weird stats. So the first thing is, that they're running the goalpost down to the river, and you're like, oh, I want to bet Kentucky. Unfortunately, the number didn't come in correct here. There was an early 11.5 on Sunday, but I wasn't the only one with that idea. And it got bet out to 13.5, 14 before I could even get to it. Kentucky's also not the team, now flipping to the other side, Kentucky's not the type of team you also want to lay points with. Not a strong offense. However, they're extremely strong on defense. They've slowed down South Carolina's offense, Georgia, Ohio, and Ole Miss, all to below their season averages in success rate by margin. Also play at a slow pace, not a great offense here. So I am concerned about Kentucky getting margin. So how are we going to play the sleepy spot for Vandy? We're going under. I bet under 46. So I did get a better number. I would still bet it here at 44.5. In that you could also possibly look to Vanderbilt team total under. Not sure where that is right now. Somewhere in the mid-teens, 16.5 range, somewhere around there. When I last looked, I only bet the 46, but again, I would bet 44.5 here as well. Kentucky's defensive front is one of the best in the country, and it's not something people are talking about. Very underrated unit. Think we don't see a ton of possessions here. Very low scoring. This probably going to come in right around the number, Kentucky by 10, Kentucky by 13, somewhere in that range, 24-13 kind of game. I think a Kentucky win. So give me the under 44.5 here.
Yeah, I looked into this when you sent me this game last night. I looked into it, and this quickly became my favorite total on the board. I absolutely love the under here. I mean, bro, it's almost too obvious, right? That's how I feel. It's almost too obvious. I have to take it though. I love it. You have two offenses that, regardless of what we've seen, they are shaky at best. Okay. And you got two defenses that are really, really good. And I mean, this game just shapes up to be an under fest, bro. I love the under here. By the way, you can take Vandy's team total under the 14.5 at a minus 120.
I want that.
You don't like that?
No.
Yeah.
It's just too thin. Like that one's moved too much. If that's the case, I would rather go. And I know we're not crossing any keys when I super key numbers, but I just in a low total game like this, I want every point you can get on those. Yes. You said it was 14.5 and with extra juice to it at minus 120. So in that case, again, because that's where maybe you look to split a unit and go because you didn't get the best number on the full game total. You split a half unit and go first half under. I think that's 23. I just looked at that. Anything above 23 there, 23, 23.5. And with the 44.5, I think that'd be the way I play. I want to play Vandy team total if it's around there, unless you get like a 16 or something. I know it was there earlier, but I hadn't looked since in a couple days actually.
Yeah, it's down. It's way down now. Yeah. So I'm glad we're both on the side here because honestly, I got a couple totals I like today, but this quickly became one of my favorites. I mean, it's like, I mean, I hate it because there's going to be a lot of people kind of watching Vandy today. So this game is kind of going to probably be in a bit of a spotlight, I think, even though there's so many good games on, you wouldn't think this would be. But Vandy just beat Alabama, and that's what really gets me thinking that more eyes are going to be on this game. And it's almost so obvious to take the under, but it's impossible not to. I got to take it. It's at a great number. I can't see it going over. I'm all over it here. All right. Let's move on to our next game, man. I believe our next game is going to be West Virginia. I think we're heading to Morgantown now. Let me find it here on my. What time is the West Virginia game, Bob?
8 o'clock, I believe.
Okay, 8 o'clock. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. I found it. All right, so we got West Virginia, Iowa State. All right, so we got Iowa State coming in laying 3.5 here. We got West Virginia getting 3.5 in this one. West Virginia's at home. Like I stated, we are back to the Big 12, and we are in Morgantown, people. We have a total of 53.5 here. Looks like it's slightly favored to the over in this one, Bob. And Iowa State is a minus 155 on the road on the money line, where West Virginia is coming in as a home dog at a plus 130. Bob, I'll let you take this one first, and then I'll go. I love this game, bro. I'm just going to say it. I love this game.
One of the rare games I have side and total here. I bet West Virginia at 3.5. I think 3 is okay still, but I do think you're kind of coin flipping a bit there. So that's not a strong at current number. It's not as strong as obviously the 3.5 from earlier in the week. But I do think the over is one of the best bets on the board. At current market, I do make sure you get There are 53, it's 53 and a half still at DraftKings. There are some 54s out there. Definitely try to get that 53 and a half a little bit. West Virginia's secondary is a disaster. They have a ton of, decent passing attacks to score on them all year. That's another reason why I hesitate a little bit, on West Virginia, just at the flat three a little bit, but liking the hook there. Iowa State has an underrated receiving core with Higgins and Noel. And I like Rocco Beckett as a passer. You saw him emerge last year as a freshman, kind of coming in from the the offseason scandal. You saw him really improve throughout the whole season, and he's carried that over this year. We've also seen some the Iowa running game improved. Very bad unit last year, inconsistent, and you're starting to see that a little more now. They're with Eastern Michigan transfer Jalen Johnson getting more carries the last couple of weeks. On the other side of the ball, West Virginia, they kind of play basketball in a sense where they have a dunks and threes kind of approach that kind of meets to Garrett Green's strengths, the quarterback of West Virginia. They go over the top, throwing the deep ball, and they throw a lot of screens. Why? Garrett Green sucks at intermediate passing. He's not good, he's quite athletic too, so can move the ball that way. West Virginia has been really good running the ball. Iowa State, they've had some linebacker injuries going back into the Iowa game in week 2. They're still thin at that position, and West Virginia can really take advantage of that. This is by far the best offense that Iowa State has played. On one of those teams, I think you might bring up some of Iowa State's very strong raw defensive numbers, but they haven't played a good quarterback yet or a good offense, or at least a two-dimensional offense. This is the first time they're playing an offense that can both run and both pass. I really like the over in this game. I make it on the other side of 55, which is one of the bigger keys. Like I make it 55 and a half. I really like the over here. It's one of my favorite plays of the day.
I'm with you. They can keep the points in my eyes. West Virginia wins this game outright, in my opinion. They can keep the points. I'm just going to take the money line here. It don't scare me.
I don't mind that with a round robin or something like that. Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, I mean, so Iowa State, they're undefeated, 5-0, right?
Yeah.
5-0 coming in. I mean, it impresses me, sure, because any sport, it's hard to go 5-0. I don't care what sport it is, college football, NFL, whatever. 5-0 is hard to go. And I'm not a big West Virginia guy. I'm not. They actually disappointed me a lot so far this year. That's a good sign, bro. That's a good sign. Dogs are barking. It's a good sign.
Yep.
That's a great sign. I love
That's the dog. That's the profile picture on Twitter right there. He's going nuts.
Dogs are barking. I like it, buddy. All right, keep it up.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. That the timing of that. Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, perfect. Dogs are barking. So West Virginia let me down a lot this year, and that's why I'm a little hesitant on them in this one. I mean, first of all, you open up the year. Yeah, right. Who'd they lose to again? My fault.
They lost to Penn State. And
Penn State, that's it.
Odd thing about West Virginia, they've had 2 games this year completely flip post-lightning delays in Morgantown. The Penn State game was kind of close in that first half. They had a couple-hour lightning delay around halftime, and Penn State just blitzed them, blitzed West Virginia after the lightning delay. And then the Kansas game, again, in Morgantown, Kansas was blitzing West Virginia prior to the break. And then that's when you've really seen West Virginia turn it around, they've been a different team. It seems like since the lightning delay against Kansas. So that's another reason why I like West Virginia and agree with the outright pick here. Potentially is that I think they've been, they're trending well. You're talking about trend lines with teams. They are going up, if you will. In that. So another reason, but yeah, just oddball thing, the 2 lightning delays. Maybe we gotta check the weather in Morgantown.
Yeah, right, for real. And I think maybe if the lightning does, we go into a lightning delay, maybe we take the over. So
should be good. I'm looking at it right now.
they definitely upset me in the backyard brawl as well. They all set me there, but they have been running the ball extremely well, man. Like I've been watching this West Virginia team, and I mean between Donaldson and White, bro, I mean I think they are going to run all over Iowa State today. Um, we're getting Donaldson at 60 plus rushing yards at a minus 120. We're getting Donaldson anytime touchdown at a minus 125. You're getting even White anytime touchdown at a plus 135. Um, I can't pass these props up. I love Donaldson's rushing yards, and I love Donaldson for an anytime touchdown today. I think 100% he gets that. I am in love with the over here, and I'm taking West Virginia to go outright today. So I'm with you here.
Take me home country roads.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. I'll be playing that shit after they win. All right. Let's keep it moving, man. We got a couple more games left for you guys. We're almost up to 100 people. I'm surprised we didn't bring in bigger numbers today, man. I'm really surprised. I know we started super early today. Not many people are used to that on our weekends, but we had to. We had a big slate, and
Yep, got to get through it.
yeah, got to get through it, man. But we almost got 100 people in here. If you guys can, please retweet. Let people know where we're at, that we're in here. You can always go back and rewatch this. Please follow Bob. He's giving us your time. Very knowledgeable guy in football, man. And I'm pretty sure you guys are following his picks and you're writing them down. He's going to make you some money today. Also, if you guys want us to talk about any games that we might have missed or that you missed, please put them in the comments. Let us know. After we go over these last two games, we will answer them comments and go over the games that you guys want. If not, we're going to give our best bets and we're going to get out of here and get ready for football. All right. So let's keep it moving. Bob, it looks like our next game we got is one of yours also. The last two are yours. So I'm going to let you start them off. We got Minnesota taking on UCLA. So we got Minnesota here coming in at a -4. They're laying 4 points on the road. You got UCLA getting 4 points in this one. They got us at a +154 for UCLA at home. Minnesota's at a -185 on the money line on the road. And they are giving us a total of 40 in this one. Bob, where are you going here, man?
We're going to stick with the theme here. We're going to take a barking dog here. Give me the UCLA Bruins here. Again, talked about this a little bit ago, and it's kind of a trend line here with the Big Ten, the first season of the new Big Ten. These longer trips, teams aren't doing well with them. Minnesota flying out to Los Angeles in case, Deshaun Foster, I know, wanted to make sure people knew they were in LA, before the season. They are, in fact, in Los Angeles, so that is a little bit of longer trip for the Gophers. Again, another spot play here a little bit. Minnesota's not a team I'm super impressed with. I don't think they should be a road, this big of a road favorite in this situation. I hate UCLA this year. I think the coaching staff sucks. This is actually my biggest season win total under. I got some 5.5. It closed 4.5. Like, not this is the first time I'm betting UCLA this year. One of my biggest bets of the offseason was Hawaii in that week 1 game against UCLA. So I've been against this team a ton. We're on them here, though. So just want to kind of note that this is a team I'm not a fan of. And now I think they can win this game outright. So Minnesota, you saw them be kind of fortunate in the game against USC. There was some wind there. What does wind do? That's the biggest thing that affects totals and kind of the thing in the game, unless it's a pure monsoon or a pure blizzard, right? It's wind that matters. You saw that total get bet down in USC Minnesota. What does that do? That hurts the passing game. When you think of USC, what is their strength? The passing game, right? What does Minnesota do well? Run the ball. They don't pass the ball well. They don't have a great pass defense. Again, all those things kind of help Minnesota, and USC still beat them in the box score despite losing the game. I don't know how you overturn that, 4th down call against, Minnesota sneaking it in there from the inch line. They called, they said he didn't get it on the field and they flipped it. I don't know how they had a camera angle to say he was in. I do think he was, but I'm surprised they changed that call on the field. What's this number if Minnesota doesn't beat UCLA? I think it's on the other side of 3, quite frankly. So I think you're getting some inflation on the Bruins here. I like them in this game. I don't have a ton of positives for them than that. I didn't mind. Now you are seeing them cover a bunch of games, bigger point spread games against teams. LSU, Penn State covered against Oregon as well in recent weeks. So they have been good against the spread. Recently, might get Ethan Garbers back, the quarterback, but I also didn't mind the backup. I watched a lot of that Penn State game last week. Thought he did okay and is serviceable enough. So I'll take the candy with UCLA. Take the +4. I do think they're live, but I'd just rather take the 4.
Yeah, I'm not mad at you on this one. So one thing I don't like to do, and that is back Minnesota on the road. That's one thing I do not like to do, especially laying points like this. Minnesota just has a bad history on the road. I've always known that, and I've kind of stuck by that a lot. If I'm ever betting a Minnesota game, I stay away from them on the road, especially when they're laying points. The line is moving in favor of UCLA a little bit here. I think I've seen some spots 5.5, 5.
There was a service release earlier in the week by a market influencer that took it down.
Okay, I kind of figured something like that. I mean, it's basically like you said, man. I mean, it's just I'm sticking with UCLA here. I think they can win this game outright. Minnesota should not be favored by 4 points on the road, in my opinion, against anybody. I think UCLA is not a good team. I really don't. But I do think they're good enough to win this game at home against Minnesota. That is also just not that great. A lot of people might hype up Minnesota, but guys, they really are not that impressive if you ask me. So I'm with you, Bob. I think UCLA is probably a live dog here. All right. Our last game of the night, guys, we got. So make sure you guys if you guys want us to talk about any other games, put them in the comments. Last game we got Boise taking on Hawaii. We got Boise State coming in as a huge favorite here, laying 21 points, Bob. You got Hawaii on the island at getting 21 here. We got a total of 60, slightly favored to the over. Obviously, the money lines are just blown out the water. So we're laying 21 points here with Boise on the road. Bob, how you feeling about this one, man?
Another 2-for-1 special for me today on this one, but do feel a little stronger on the total. I have checked this one a little bit because the wind is kind of right on the line of whether it could affect games, right around that 15 miles per hour. Forecasts look a little bit lower than that now, but the totals bounced back and forth this week because of that. I like the over here. I got 59.5. There's some 60s out there right now because it's kind of, that's kind of bounced around. So I like the over here. I think there's multiple paths to this. First off, I think the Boise defense is terrible. So I think Hawaii is a capable enough offense to get to 20 here. So that's one path here. Kind of get to the total that way because the Boise offense is quite good with Ashton Genty, who's currently the market favorite for the Heisman. Actually, I saw another sports book had his anytime touchdown prop at minus 6,600. Don't ever bet that.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's absurd. Yeah,
I know that's going to be in a bunch of parlays today.
I would love they won't ever do it. That shop. I would love to bet the no price. Will it win? No, but right. They won't offer the no. It's just like he could roll an ankle. You don't put that in a parlay. Do not do that. So that's actually my best advice for this game is do not put Ashton Genty touchdown props in any parlays. So that's my favorite play on the board. Actually, don't do that. Just because again, roll the ankle. It's not a free square. It's built. Yeah. The price is built in. Anyway, so like the over here in that game. That's my favorite play for this game. Besides the Ashton Genty joke there. And also there is a possibility too that Boise can get close to this number themselves. Boise games, I believe, this season have gone over, are averaging like 80 points per game.
Yes.
Combined between the two teams. Poor defense, really good offense, efficient passing game. Genti's been awesome. They're also getting big leads out in this game. They're jumping out early. And how does a team also, when they get up big, what are they doing? They're running the ball. Now they'll pull Genti, but they're fine. Like, that Boise is one of the more talented G5 teams out there. Like, they'll still be able to score late if this game gets out of hand, and run the ball and, get in that extra touchdown later. There is a possibility that Boise, quite frankly, gets close to this number themselves. All that. I do like the dog Hawaii, though, at plus 21 or better. Do like that smaller than the total, just for the, so let's say, full unit on the total over, dog, plus 21 or better. Don't bet 20.5. 21 is the number. I make it 18.5, just as far as pure power ratings perspective. So, I'll take the 21 with Hawaii. Think the offense can, like I said, get to 20, 24, somewhere in that range, and we can go comfortably over here.
I'm with you. So I'm actually going a bit of a different way. I'm going to take the over Boise State team total. I'm taking the over 41.5 at a minus 105. I think Boise is going to score. I truly do. I also do believe that Boise covers this number. Like you said, dude, the Broncos I know for a fact they have put up 45 or more in their last few games. But this team is averaging damn near, 40 points a game, let alone going against this Hawaii team. First of all, I don't trust Hawaii's offense that much. It feels like they have just not been able to score. That's not true. They put up 25 in the last 3 games, right? 25 or more in the last 3 games at least. So I just don't necessarily trust this Hawaii team. I just don't. But one thing I do think will happen today is Boise State putting up points. I think this offense is more than capable. I can see them just running the ball straight down Hawaii's throat. I think they're going to just move the ball very easily today. So I love Boise State here, man. Not necessarily laying this boatload of points. It definitely leaves the back door open. So I'm not big on laying the points, but I really do like Boise State just to put up points here. And I know 41 is a lot, but I can see them getting there. And chances are, if they do put up 40 or more, chances are they might cover this spread, but we'll see. All right, let's see if we got anybody. All right, so we do got one shout out. Rosano, you want us to do Texas versus Oklahoma. All right, that's definitely a good game to talk about, guys.
Yeah, are we going to do the other some of the other ones? Oregon, OSU, Ole Miss, LSU as well. Are we going to do a couple of those?
Okay, yeah. Did you send? I didn't know.
I just thought. I have prepared for him. So just in case, figure we might do them even if we don't have a play.
Oh yeah,
I do have a couple plays in them, but.
All right, cool. Let's do it. All right, so we're going to go over the Texas one first. We'll hit this Texas game first, and then you tell me the games that you want to talk about.
Can I go rogue for a second and live? Can I go rogue for just 1 second in this game?
Absolutely.
Just looking at the board right now, Ohio State's getting bet in market. So that was going to be a game that, like, in my breakdown, just super quick, we can get right back to Texas, Oklahoma. If you like Ohio State in that game, you obviously it's 3 or 3.5, depending on where you look. Right now, if you want Ohio State 3, the time is now. Just telling you that, like, based on what I'm seeing on the board, the time is now if you want Ohio State 3, it looks like. So I just saw the board light up there. Just make sure you shop around on that. Okay, back to Texas, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I love that. If you get that too.
If you want that.
Yeah, I like that.
We'll talk about that game in a second, my opinion,
Yeah, that's a hell of a call. Yeah. I definitely wouldn't mind taking that one. So Texas, Oklahoma is what, a 3:00 game, I believe?
3:30, yep.
3:30?
First time it's 3:30 in a really long time, I believe. It's been traditionally noon, but the SEC ESPN deal, they wanted it at 3:30 this year. So just interesting. Normally a noon game.
Yeah, we got a lot, man. We got a really, really loaded 3:30 slate today, Bob. I mean, this 3:30 slate is loaded. All right, so we got Texas, Oklahoma. For from the comments. So we got Texas coming in laying 17 points here. Oklahoma getting 17 points. Oklahoma is home in this one. It looks like we got a total of 49 here, Bob, at minus 110. So obviously Texas is a big favorite here going against Oklahoma. I mean, I can't see no other way than Texas in this one. And I know it's crazy. I think that they need to make a statement, man. And if they don't, I mean, come on, man. I'm not concerned about really who the quarterback is for this Texas team. I'm not. I think they're going to have no problems moving the ball no matter who is out there. Oklahoma's offense is just simply not going to be able to keep up. And I think that's the thing here. I think we lay the points here. If you can get a 13.5, which I highly, actually it's what?
Oh yeah, it's gotten steamed to oblivion this morning. Yeah,
I forgot it's up to 17 now.
Yeah, there's 16 and a half, there's 17s. It's got steamed to oblivion.
Wow. Yeah, you gave us a tough one, bro.
I got something.
Go ahead. I
got an angle here.
A lot, bro.
So couple angles here. Obviously, you've seen Quinn Ewers is starting again for Texas after missing the last two games. Where Arch Manning kind of came in.
He is starting. You got
Quinn Ewers in. I don't think that makes a difference to. It makes a difference to the number, but I think that was assumed from the start. Maybe that's a little bit hitting the screen. I do think Texas is a little bit the sharp side here in the game. Obviously, getting out, touching 17 when it's been 14 and a half, went down to 14, and then now up to 17. My number in the game is exactly 15. So we're right there. I'm in market. I don't have anything on the side. So Quinn Ewers comes back. Do you think you see a little bit of rust here from Ewers, just naturally speaking? Just missing the last couple games, wanting to get the offense in rhythm. Maybe you see a little bit more on the ground game, which for Texas, they've had a bunch of injuries at running back. So that running game hasn't been overly consistent, but they're still doing it because it kind of sets up the rest of Sark's offensive system. The Oklahoma defense is a unit I respect. I think it's really good. I think the recent bye week was really good for them because that Oklahoma offense is not great this year. So I think the defense getting a little bit of a break. I think they were starting to wear down kind of before the bye a little bit. So do respect the Oklahoma defense. On the other side of the ball, Oklahoma recently made a switch to quarterback Michael Hawkins, benching Jackson Arnold. Hawkins is a talented freshman quarterback they liked. I heard it all through camp that they actually, they thought they had two guys they liked with Arnold and Hawkins. So it's not surprising to see Hawkins kind of step in. He's a little bit more athletic. Think you see a lot of quarterback run game with him on the ground because once again, Oklahoma has cluster injuries. This matters a ton. Against Auburn, you saw the market, go against Oklahoma in that spot as well. It's because they were down their top 5 wide receivers. Now they get their best back, Deion Burks, a Purdue transfer today, but they're still down their other 4 good receivers. It's just a spot where you can't have that much playable depth on a team, even at a program like Oklahoma. To have go down to your 6th, 7th, 8th wide receivers on on a roster. That's just a very tough spot. I'm not quite sure how Oklahoma scores a ton in this game. They have some offensive line issues. Texas defensive line, a unit I question, who lost a couple stud defensive tackles to the NFL. That unit's performed well. Texas's defensive weakness is the secondary. I just said how Oklahoma can't really expose that. So I bet under 50.5 in this game. If you're looking, so I don't mind that look. I don't mind if you're thinking about Oklahoma team total under. I have not bet that. I just bet the full game side. I think 49.5, 49 is fine there. So I would look maybe at that. If you do want to bet one of the sides in the game, I'm curious whether Oklahoma does anything with the pace. They're typically a fast-paced team. but I don't think if they go fast paced, I think they can get blitzed here. So I kind of think if Texas starts a little bit slower, kind of getting viewers back in rhythm. Oklahoma wants to condense possessions, not in comeback mode. Maybe looking first half under. Oklahoma team total. You want to, maybe Oklahoma in the first half, but if you force me to play a side, but my bet here is on the full game under at 49.5.
I love it. I can go with it. I mean, I think and basically I like it because I don't think Oklahoma is going to be able to put up points to help us get over this total. So I'm with you there. I do like Texas
31-13, something
Right.
something around that range.
Mhm.
31, 34-10, that's kind of where I'm thinking, for this game.
100% agree. 100% agree, man. All right. Hopefully that helped you out on that Texas and Oklahoma game, Rosarnio. Let's go to so we're gonna go to the Ohio State and Oregon game. I know you just brought it up. By the
Yeah.
way, good morning, Miss Red. Happy to see you here. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it may be. So we got Ohio State taking on Oregon. Obviously, we got two heavyweights coming into the building. I mean, man, both teams come into this game 5-0 here. Absolutely rolling right now. This is a great game. Let me see if I can find the actual numbers for this game for you guys real quick. Can you give me a time? 3:30.
7:30.
7:30. Oh, right, here we go. Laying 3 points here with Ohio State. Laying 3 points. Bob just told you guys, grab that. It's now at a -3 at a -118. We got a total of 54. Favorite to the over slightly at a -112. Ohio State money line -162. Oregon at home at a +136 on the money line, getting 3 points now. Bob obviously liked the 3 here. I'm on the Ducks. I think you take the 3.5. I think this is going to be a huge battle, back and forth. I can't see it ending any other way besides overtime or a late field goal. I mean, either way you slice it, I could be wrong. Ohio State struggled in the first half against Iowa last week. Other than that, these boys have absolutely blown the doors off of anybody they stepped on the field with. And you got to have some big cojones to try to be fading Ohio State at any way, in my opinion. So I am not betting this game, but I do lean the Ducks here with the 3.5. 3, you're playing with fire. 2.5, take it with Ohio State. I like I said, I think it comes to overtime or late field goal, Bob.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this game in a couple different facets. I'll break the game down, kind of how I see it playing out, but I also want to talk about, how to think about markets in a sense. So I bet both sides of this game and you can't do anything, with that information. But on Sunday morning, DraftKings posted Ohio State -4.5 against Oregon. Immediately took the Oregon 4.5. I hadn't updated my numbers yet. I knew it was going to be lower. I basically handicapped and said, this number can't ever be 6. I don't care about the 5s, not key numbers in football. So again, just kind of immediately thinking, okay, I'll bet that. I'll figure out what to do with it later. Later in the week, yesterday, we saw some Ohio State 3 -110 come around. I bet Ohio State 3 -110. So, so kind of middling that game, knowing that was the floor. We'll never see a 2.5 here.
No.
Just from a power numbers perspective, this game was pick over the summer, but we've seen enough from both teams to kind of bring this number, across the 3. But again, that's also why it probably was never hitting 6. There's not that much of a pure power rating difference between the two teams. So quite frankly, I'm rooting for Ohio State to win by exactly 3 or 4 in the game, just from a personal perspective there. So that's why I said, kind of broke that down where if you do have a strong opinion on this game, similar to the Washington game we talked about at the top, if you have a strong opinion on the side, and I could definitely come up with a case and tell you why I think the Ducks are going to cover. I could definitely give you a case why I think Ohio State's going to cover in this game. Make sure you just get on the right side of 3. Of that. It's too critical a number to not do that. Sharp professional groups have bet the over all week. Open 51.5. We're out to 54. Think that's an interesting position. I kind of tend to agree with that a little bit. On my end, I have not played that game other than that middle kind of. I'm playing a little bit in this game. I don't have a bet on the game. This is the first game from either team priced within 17 points this year. Oregon played Boise. I'm going to spread around that. And then, of course, Ohio State against Iowa last week. Oregon offensive line started out the year shaky and banged up. They allowed a ton of sacks earlier in the year, which they normally have been a good, really good unit. They shuffled some things around. They're getting healthier. So that unit is improving. The running game finally got going last week against Michigan State, something that wasn't, happening early in the year. We have seen the Ohio State defensive line dominate a good Iowa team last week. Iowa's a team, as far as the offensive line, a unit you already trust. They're not at the elite level they have been, but that's a solid outfit they got in Iowa City there. The Oregon offense is FBS average as far as explosive plays. You're not seeing that downfield threat you're used to seeing from that Oregon offense. They've had to be a little bit more methodical. You've seen Dylan Gabriel. Maybe it's a little comfortability with the offense, not really, be comfortable, throw some red zone turnovers in there. He had 2 last week against Michigan State. Part of the reason why they didn't cover against the Spartans on a Friday night there. So that'll be interesting to see that. Ohio State's offensive line unit I was concerned about, far exceeding expectations. Wrong there. Couple questions I have. Chip Kelly, former UCLA head coach, very familiar from playing Oregon in the Pac-12. What is he holding back in this spot? We saw Will Howard in the rushing game last week against Iowa for the first time this year. He had 10 carries in that game. Now that does include sacks and whatnot. He had 10 carries in the previous 3 games. So I expect to see some more quarterback RPO game, Will Howard in the rushing game. You see that when some of these teams who don't play a ton of competition, they'll kind of hide that quarterback run game, kind of save them health-wise, right? Well, in the big games like this one, you break it out. I do kind of like Will Howard over his rushing yard prop. Kind of a little prop perspective there. I don't bet a ton of props. That's one I bet. A little bit. I think I got mid-20s, 24.5, somewhere around there is where I got it at. I don't have the current in front of me right now. So I do expect to see more RPO. Another thing I'm curious to see is we saw Oregon get beat up by Washington last year when Washington used an unbalanced line, throwing an extra tackle on one side and kind of running the ball that way. A little bit. It was very effective against Oregon. Interesting to see if Chip Kelly brings that in as well with the Ohio State two-headed monster in the running game with Henderson and Quidson Junkins, by the way. So like I said, I can see it on both sides, as far as the game. Oh, and we didn't even mention Ohio State's stud receiving core with Emeka Buka and star freshman Jeremiah Smith. I didn't even mention that as part of this caveat. So they're awesome. So that's a couple things to consider there. Don't think Oregon showed a lot. They've seen improved. It definitely does, when I talk through it, sound like more of an Ohio State handicap in favor of them. But from a numbers perspective, I make the game right around 3.5. Like I said, I bet that 3. I bet that 4.5. Kind of playing that middle, kind of knowing the market limits of where the spread couldn't go. I think that's a solid lesson to talk to people about. And I think the over is the clear sharp side in the game.
Yep. I mean, I can't see this game going any other way but over. I mean, I agree with you on so many points, bro. Like I said, you're just so well versed in talking like football and explaining it. It's fantastic. I agree. I mean, I can't get away from. I mean, personally, I'm not betting this game, right?
Yeah.
But if you like action, this is your game, because you are going to have everything you are paying for in this game today. You are going to have the ups. You're going to have the downs. You're going to have a close game, I think, pretty much all the way through. And it probably will come down to the last minute. I am really hoping that you get that number because, man.
2x4. I did it last year, actually, in an Ohio State game. I did the same thing. That game against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Last year, I had Notre Dame plus 3.5, and I had Ohio State 2.5 in the game, and it landed Ohio State by 3. That was a fun one. So I've done it a couple times, but it just like, so neither of those are true real positions in the game, but it's just kind of like, okay, just from looking at markets, you can kind of figure these things out where the numbers can and cannot go. So that's the only reason why I mentioned those, those things that unfortunately, the live viewers can't do what I did there, on the game, but just also didn't want to, make it seem like, oh, I have Ohio State for, a real position here, on the game. Thing can go either way. Really excited for it.
I mean, I think out of the 120 people we got in here watching right now, Bob, I think if that number falls exactly where you want, I think we all can respect the talent of it as a handicapper or as a bettor in general to put in a double-sided bet like that and hit it within a point. I mean, bro, the talent it takes to hit a bet like that and have the courage to know the game well enough to put a bet and hit it like that is just incredible, bro. So I would love to see that. That would be 100% the flashback of the day there, because I think as everyone in here being betters, if you're in here watching the show, maybe you're just a football fan, whatever, you get the gist of how impressive hitting a bet like that is, right? It's super impressive and just shows a very solid line of confidence, bro. All right, let's get to our last game here, and then we're going to go over our best bets of the day, and we're going to get you good people up out of here, man. If you guys can, please like, share, and comment any games that we missed that you might want us to talk about. Appreciate everyone in the comments. If we missed a game or if you just got a game that you might want to hear a pick on, put it in the comments before we wrap up, and we'll definitely get to it. We got the last game of the night here. We're going to head over to LSU. These are games that we just want to touch on real quick that we kind of came up with as we went. So LSU here, same time frame, I believe, is 7:30, correct?
Yes.
All right, so we got Ole Miss versus LSU here, guys. Ole Miss is coming in as a 3.5-point favorite. LSU is at home here, getting 3.5. We got a pretty high total in this one, Bob, at 62.5 here. And it's favored to the over at a -112. You can catch Ole Miss on the road at a -175, and you can catch them Purple Tigers at a +145. Very tough game for me. You could say I'm a bit biased when it comes to LSU. I don't like this team at all. I don't respect anything they do, but I am going to go ahead and lay the points here. Give me Ole Miss on the road, man. It's a game I'm not betting, but it's kind of weird, man. Both teams have a really tough schedule, but it's felt more like LSU is the more hungry team, I feel like, right? At least I don't know. At least it feels that way. But at the end, you look at Ole Miss, they are the better team. That's all. That's what it comes down to for me. I do, LSU on an offensive side of things is not terrible. It's just I trust Ole Miss's defense to step up here. So, give me Ole Miss here, man. I'm not going to think too much into it. Ole Miss is the better team in my opinion, and I think they can win this game. I think they can win this game by a field goal. We got it at the 3.5. That hook I don't like, but lay it here. Give me Ole Miss. What do you got, Bob?
I'm on the other side here. I like LSU. You mentioned in one of the games, I forget which one, the opponent had a bye. Ole Miss is one of those teams. LSU is coming off a bye. Think that helps them a bit here. Also for Ole Miss, it's their third straight SEC game. So now playing week 7, so 7 straight games, and without a bye against 2 also physical opponents in the SEC in Kentucky and South Carolina, who both have really good defensive lines. From a spot perspective, that says LSU. I also think they have some matchup advantages as well. Ole Miss wide receiver Trey Harris, he was listed as questionable earlier in the week, has a lower leg injury. Even if he goes, I don't think he'll be 100%. Why does that matter? He is the nation's leading receiver and one of the best at getting Ole Miss their explosive plays. I'm unsure. I also think Jackson Dart, the quarterback of Ole Miss, I think he's a little off last couple weeks. I'm just wondering if he's a little, banged up and quite frankly could use the bye here. Ole Miss does have a good receiving core. Don't get me wrong, but I do think missing their number one guy is quite the loss. LSU lost Harold Perkins, star linebacker, to an ACL injury a few weeks back. I actually think that upgrades the LSU defense. A unit I've been questionable on. He was playing out of position, in my opinion, and it's not an original take by me. That's kind of been out there. So I think it helps the unit overall. The LSU pass rush has been better than expected. Still a little nervous about them, in run defense, but the pass rush has been good. The Ole Miss weakness is the offensive line. Ole Miss defense has been underrated. Now, they haven't played a soul as well. No offense to Wake Forest as far as good passing attacks. But while, you kind of mentioned LSU's defense or LSU's offense you felt has just been okay. Well, last year, again, kind of flipping the Iowa thing from earlier, historic levels of good on offense last year. Well, them falling from first best offense to maybe a top 15 or 20 offense in college football, that's actually a massive jump because they were historically one last year, right? Even though it's only a 15 spot drop or so, in the rankings. Also, this is the second time this year, and it happened against the USC game, where Brian Kelly's discussed wanting to help the defense a little bit and focus on the ground game in his press conferences during the week. So wondering if we see more ground game from LSU. I like the Tigers in this game, plus the 3.5. I also like under 62.5 in the game, kind of another 2-for-1 special here. One of the bigger games I rarely have, two bets in. So I still like those plays with the current market. Barking dog. I think LSU wins the game outright.
All right, we're just going to agree to disagree on this one.
That's fair.
I mean, to be fair, LSU, you got to look at some of the trends here. First of all, LSU at Tiger Stadium, okay, is a big advantage. I don't care who they play.
At night.
Yes.
It's actually, so I do dynamic home field. So I have a home field rating for each and every team in college football.
I bet this is huge.
It's number one. It's actually, yeah.
I mean, bro,
it's number one.
Good.
Yeah, it's tied for first, actually. I have Utah with a high home field advantage, but some of that is elevation in there. But it's LSU and Utah. Like, that is my highest home field advantage. So, I mean, maybe I'm overvaluing it because I make this game slightly less than 3.
Oh, no.
But, because it is an abnormally high home field. But I think, that's generally accepted as well. But, I like LSU in the game.
Yeah, so while you were just talking, because I was going to ask you, what is their win streak at Tiger Stadium? It's actually 13 is what I'm looking at. LSU has won their last 13 games at home. They have so Ole Miss apparently has failed to cover the spread in their last 5 games at Tiger Stadium as well. There is a lot. The home team has covered the spread in the last 6 games between Ole Miss and LSU. Ole Miss has lost each of their last 7 October road games against AP ranked teams as well. So you have some big trends backing your LSU pick here. The whole thing that I think is not the Rebels' offense. I think that this front is going to absolutely thrive in LSU's backfield. I think that is going to be the difference here. I'm expecting the Rebels defense to step up more than what we think. And that's where I think the difference is for me. But man, you have some serious trends backing. And like I said, I trust your word here. I don't have that strong of an opinion on it. But yeah, so you're saying live dog, man. I'm sure the Tigers got an excellent chance of pulling this one out. Like I said, you don't have to be an Einstein to know that Tiger Stadium is an incredibly tough place to play for most teams. So, all right. I don't see anyone else in the comments, man. We do got 130 people in here. Appreciate all y'all. If you guys want to, me and Bob are about to give our best bets. If you guys want to put anything in the comments before we wrap up, you're more than welcome to. But let's get the best bets, man. Out of everything we talked about, Bob, man, we talked about a lot today. We gave out a lot of good picks, man. We were on here for almost 2 hours today. What out of everything we talked about, Bob, what was the absolute best play that you think we gave out?
You're asking me to narrow it down. Unfortunately, I can't say Southern Miss. Southern Miss just got destroyed in market, so they're down to 5.5 now. So
Oh wow.
that's no longer a play. So hopefully you got it live when we talked about that game earlier. So I can't use that one. If you ask me to name one, it's going to be the West Virginia Iowa State over 53.5. But we also like that Kentucky under 44.5, UCLA +4. LSU 3.5, and that Hawaii total over 60.5 as well. Those would probably be the, couple of my absolute favorites today.
I mean, we got a consensus. I mean, because bro, I was giving out the West Virginia and the over. I think that is the best play. I told y'all when we went over the game, it's one of my favorite games on the board. You can take it either way you guys want. Me and Bob both agree on this over. Bob's leaning a little on the West Virginia side here. I love West Virginia on the money line, but we both strongly agree on this over. I think we're going to take West Virginia over to be one of our best bets of the day out of today's show. All right, Bob. Just to wrap it up here, man, and end the show. Do you want to like plug yourself in? Let people know who you are, where they could find you. I know you don't offer any services, but I know you do speak on shows a lot. And man, I hope to have you back here next week. This was an awesome show. I enjoy talking football with you. Do you want to kind of let the people know where they could find you and your content?
Just on Twitter, at Bobby Digital 2. Willing to talk, follow, any games, willing to talk to them throughout the week, give insights, give opinions, and all that. Otherwise, I do appear with Plug on some of the Wolf Spaces when I'm available, and then also do a weekly preview on with Zach at Tenement TV as well. We're starting to do that weekly and whatnot. So check that out there. Typically that goes up, Thursday or Friday, depending on what day we're both available to record. So other than that, just on Twitter, at Bobby Digital 2.
All right, man. Amazing, Bob. It was absolutely fantastic having you on the show today. Bro, I appreciate you coming on and giving us your time and giving us your picks in college football because I mean when you you're just so like I said, you're so well versed in it. You obviously know the game through and through. And it's just a pleasure to have you on and talk college football with you, bro. Period. So
I
I
appreciate it.
definitely appreciate you giving us your time, man. You guys already know where to find me, man. You can find me at theoutletsv.com. If you guys want to go read about the Clemson and Wake Forest game, it is my featured article on my website today. So we have the Wake Forest game and Clemson over there. You guys can go check that out. That is the featured article. Obviously, I have a VIP service. You guys can get my football weekend package right now for $10. You get all weekend access pass to all my college football, all my NFL for only $10, man. DM me, get that package now. It's well worth it. You guys know we got the full membership VIP package as well. You guys know Plug Talk is live every single day. I'm sorry we did start extremely early today at 9:30, but this was going to be a
We
long
needed
show.
it.
I knew it was. Yeah. I mean, me and Bob just alone, I could probably keep going, bro. I could probably talk college football for another hour and a half. But sadly the games are starting soon and we got things to do. But that is why we started so early. Maybe next week the card ain't going to be as exciting. I didn't look at it yet, but maybe we'll start a little later next week. But tomorrow, I think I'm bringing back on AI Tony, guys. So we're going to have a big NFL show. Bob, you're welcome. If you want to come and talk NFL, you're more than welcome to grab a camera, grab a mic. We usually have about 3 other people on with us. It's usually a really good show. So you're more than welcome to show up tomorrow. We'll probably do that show probably around 10:30, somewhere around there. I'll give you the details. But yeah, man, I'll see
I'll
you
check the
guys
schedule.
tomorrow. Thank you all for watching Plug Talk. Please go give Bob Digital 2 a follow on Twitter. Please follow this guy. He knows his college football. He is definitely a good tool to have in your pocket, and I'm sure he'll answer any questions you guys have. Bob, once again, man, thank you for coming on today, bro. It was a pleasure. I hope to get you back on here soon, man.
All right. Thanks a lot. It was a good time.
Yep. All right, guys. Have a good day betting. Good luck with all your bets. And guys, let's make tonight a winning one. All right.